Welcome to the online training session on the topic of water quality. This is the third topic within Principle 3, Natural Resource Conservation of the Sustainable Agriculture Standard. Clean water is essential for agricultural production, for the environment, and for our health. In this session, you will learn how to conserve the quality of the water in and around your farm. What kind of wastewater is generated on a farm? If you have a processing facility, such as a mill, a pack house, or a factory, there's wastewater from processing or washing products. If you have a housing facility on the farm, gray water is generated through cooking, laundry, and bathing. If you have toilets on the farm, they generate sewage. How are these wastewaters managed? In this banana farm, the wastewater with bananas is poured to the river and the pond. In these photos, you see wastewater that contains detergent and oil. In this case, a large quantity of wastewater from a coffee mill is discharged into a river, seriously contaminating the water. The river is full of coffee pulp. What happens if you contaminate water? There can be people downstream fetching the water for drinking. There can be animals downstream which are drinking the water. There may be fish living in the water. The water that you contaminate would affect the lives of all these people and animals. They may get sick for drinking contaminated water, or they may even die. Therefore, the standard strictly prohibits the discharge of wastewater into water bodies in order to protect aquatic ecosystems. Critical Criterion 3.1 says that wastewater from processing is not discharged into aquatic ecosystems unless it is treated. Critical Criterion 3.2 says that untreated sewage is not discharged into aquatic ecosystems. Criterion C 3.20 says that untreated gray water is not discharged into aquatic ecosystems. No wastewater from your farm can be poured into water bodies unless it has been adequately treated. Then how should we treat our wastewater? Let us start with the treatment of wastewater from processing. First, all solid waste needs to be removed from the wastewater using traps. You see some examples of traps for solid waste here. Next, it has to be filtered to remove contaminants. Filtration can be done through materials such as sand, gravel, activated carbon, or even with aquatic plants. Would you like to know more details on wastewater treatment systems? Please visit www.rainforest-alliance.org/business/toolbox. In the training toolbox of the Rainforest Alliance, you can find various types of wastewater treatment systems. You can find the one that is suitable for the volume of wastewater you generate and the geographic condition of your farm. You can see examples from many different countries and see videos of producers explaining their wastewater treatment systems. You will find examples from smallholder farms as well as big plantations. You will find an innovative example of a biogas production with wastewater as well. After you treat your wastewater, you need to conduct a water analysis of the treated water to know whether it is clean enough to be discharged into the environment. The results of the water analysis needs to comply with the SAN industrial wastewater parameters. According to these parameters, the biochemical oxygen demand needs to be less than 150 milligrams per liter. Total suspended solids and grease and oils needs to be less than 50 milligrams per liter. pH needs to be between 5.5 and 9. Before releasing the treated water into water bodies, you need to make sure that the treated water meets the SAN industrial wastewater parameters. If you want to release the treated water onto land where there is no crop, you need to make sure that the groundwater table is not high, the soil is not highly permeable or very sandy, the slope is less than 8%. If you wish to release the treated water onto soil and use it for irrigation, the treated water needs to meet the SAN industrial wastewater parameters for irrigation. According to the SAN industrial wastewater parameters for irrigation, the intestinal nematodes need to be 1 or less. Fecal coliforms need to be 1,000 or less. As you can see, the parameters for irrigation has a focus on human health. Let's do a few quizzes. Treated wastewater from a tea factory was analyzed in a laboratory, and the result was as follows. Can this factory apply the treated water to the vegetables planted next to the factory? The answer is yes. The result of the water analysis does not meet the SAN industrial wastewater parameters, but it does meet the SAN industrial wastewater parameters for irrigation. Therefore, this treated water cannot be discharged into aquatic ecosystems, but it can be used for irrigation. Next quiz. Treated wastewater from a coffee mill was analyzed in a laboratory, and the result was the following. Can this mill discharge the treated water to the river next to the mill? The answer is no. As you can see in the table, biochemical oxygen demand is 230, whereas it should be less than 150. Total suspended solids are 80, whereas they should be below 50. pH is 11 when it should be between 5.5 and 9. Therefore, it does not meet the parameters and cannot be discharged into the river. Let us understand the criteria on the management of sewage, which is wastewater from toilets. Critical criterion 3.7 requires that sewage is not used for production or processing activities. Sewage contains biological pathogens such as E. coli, which can be extremely harmful to human health and can even cause death. Therefore, sewage cannot be in contact with crop at any moment. You have to be careful about where to put pit latrines and sewage disposal sites. Criterion B 3.21 says that they should not be near water bodies. If they are near water sources, as you can see in the illustration, drinking water can be contaminated from sewage. Farms have to map the location of pit latrines and sewage disposal sites to demonstrate that they are sufficiently far from water sources. After treating sewage, what is the parameter that the treated water has to meet? Criterion B 3.22 asks farms to comply with the applicable law. Therefore, there is no SAN parameter for treated sewage, but you need to find out the law of your country about sewage treatment and meet its requirements. Last quiz. A treated sewage from worker housing in a banana plantation was analyzed in a laboratory, and the result was the following. Can this plantation use the treated water in its pack house? The answer is no. Regardless of the result of the water analysis, sewage can never be used for food production or processing. Let us protect the water sources and leave the clean water for our future generations.